morning, students. This is Anjali, Assistant Professor, Department of CSE, AIML, IARE, Hyderabad. Today's our topic name is Communicating Data, Part 2. Yesterday we have already started that about communication. Communication is very important part of our life. Without communication, we can't convey our message to another person, or we can't convey our message to another from one source to another resource. So generally in data science we are using the communication part for analyzing the pattern, for visualizing the data, for visualizing the different patterns. Actually in data science or statistics we can communicate the data by using the visualization of data, and we can visualize our data by using the different charts, then different graphs. And we have already seen that we can communicate our data, we can communicate by using the data, by using the charts like line charts, then bar graph, histogram. So by using these charts or these graphs, we can communicate, we can understand our data, and we can convey our information to the users. So now we are starting next portion of the communicating data. Our contents are principles of the communicating data, importance of communicating data quality, and communicating data effectively. So we will see one by one. There are some principles of the communicating data. There are 6 principles of the communicating data. First one, know your goal. Then second one, use the right data. Third one, select suitable visualizations. Fourth one, design for aesthetics. Fifth one, choose an effective medium and channel. And sixth one, check the results. First one, know your goal. It's important to know that an information and message are not synonymous. And information generally is the set of all possible messages that can be selected by the information source, and message is what was selected from this set to be communicated. And why does this matter? Actually, we should think about our goal. What is our goal? We should clarify about our goal, and here we should know about the information and the message. Information is totally different about the message. Information means it just set of the messages, and message is the just what was selected from the set to be the communicated. And in the world where information is increasing exponentially, choosing your message is an important first step. Whatever you have information, you will select the message from this information. That means you will select the message what you want from that information, you will select. That is your message. And before you choose your message, however, it's critical to know your goal, which you can articulate by answering a few key questions upfront. So here there is important to give the answer of these questions. Who are you trying to communicate with? That means here we are thinking about the target audience. Then what do you want them to know? Then here we will think about the meaning. And next one, why? What do you want them to do about it? Now here we will think about the effect. First, you want to think about the audience, then you have to think about the meaning, and then you have to think about the effect. So definitely here there is need to think about your goal properly. This is the elements of the goal. who, why, and what. Here we have to think about the target audience, intended meaning, and the desired effect. Whatever, in simple words, whatever you have information, you will you will clarify, you will take the meaning from that information, and by using that information, it will affect on the user, it will affect on the data. So these answers may be vary according to the disciplines, according to the users. But a data journalist working on breaking story does not have the same goal as a business intelligence analyst working in a corporation. That they would communicate data differently should not be surprising and may be entirely appropriate. The important part is articulating your goals, actually writing out the answers to the three questions just listed. And if you are not certain about the answer to any one of these questions, don't go any further until you are sure. So definitely here we should know about our goal. You should think about the audience, you should think about the meaning, and you should think about the desired effect. What will be the effect, you have to think. Now the second one is the use the right data. This is also very important point. Here you have to use a particular data, particular information. One of the most impactful example of the communicating data that I have ever seen involved the presentation of the single number 14. That was the single data point shared with the group of the managers assembled to discuss customer service within an organization. That means 14 is the customer service number, which is very important, and the group of the manager came to learn that this number represents the number of times particular customer had been transferred between the departments during a single call to the helpline, and it motivated an entire organization to revamp the customer experience. Then third one is that select suitable visualization. Once you have identified the data that you will need to make your point, the next step is that deciding how to encode the message. And the encoding the data means converting data values themselves into abstract graphical representations, like we can say that size, color, or we can say shape. And knowing how the human mind makes use of different graphical displays of information to perform specific task is the key to avoiding the semantic problem. Now there are, what type of data do you have? Here we have to think which type of data, what type of data we have to use. And this is the helpful frame for identifying the order of effectiveness of the different encoding variable based on the type of the data being used. And we have already seen in the first module, there are different types of the data, like quantitative data, qualitative data, ordinal, nominal. Every type of data is available, and we are working with this. And here you can say that quantitative data, that means precise numerical values. For example, 2.44, 2.54, 3.22. That means it will show the some numbers. Then ordinal, elements related by order. These elements will be arranged in the order format: small, mid, large, first, second, third, disagree, neutral, agree. Then after that, nominal, members of a group or class. For example, cat, dog, horse, cash, credit, debit, male, female. These are the members of the group, or we can say the class. These are the different types of the data. Here we have to think about what type of data we are using. Next, what are the most effective types of the visualizations for your data type? Once you have identified what data type or types you will need to get your point across, you need to decide that what variables you will use to encode the data. First, you have to identify the what type of data you are using. what type of data you are using. And after that, you have to decide what variable we will need. What variables we will need. And after that, again, position is the most effective form of encoding for all data types. Then length, angle and area decrease in effectiveness from quantitative to ordinal to nominal. Then color hue increases in effectiveness from the quantitative to ordinal to nominal. Now there are effectiveness of the data encoding. Quantitative, there are three groups: quantitative, ordinal and the nominal. Or quantitative is showing the position, ordinal position, nominal position again, length, angle, area, gray, RAM, color hue and then shape. Then again, some quantitative is related to ordinal and ordinal group is related to nominal. Now the fourth one is that design for aesthetics. Why consider aesthetics at all? Is not any attempt to make a visualization a look better is just chart junk or design fluff. Won't graphic elements that are not data just get in the way? Should not the data itself be beautiful enough for reader? There are some attempts to beautify data visualizations that either distract the audience or worse, distort the data so as to mislead the audience. So there are number of aesthetic elements of every data visualization and handful of common mistakes people may make when creating them. First, poor color scheme, then distracting fonts. Many different fonts they will use. They will use the sloppy type of alignments. Then vertical or angle labels they will use. Dark background colors, thick borders or grid lines, then useless images and clip art, and lazily accepting most software defaults. Now consider the following figure. These two charts illustrate the growth of the number of possible moves in a chess game as the game progresses. Now default Excel chart is on the left and the redesigned version is on the right. This is the Excel chart, that is poor aesthetics and aesthetic improved chart is showing. Now choose an effective medium and a channel. What form of message takes and how it gets delivered to the audience. What form the message takes and how it gets delivered to audience are ethical, critical elements of any data communication effort. Care needs to be taken in selecting the how, when, where to improve the chances that your audience is reached and your goals are met. When you communicate data, there are few choices to make about how you will do it. So here we have to think about it. Standalone graphics or narrative, then static, interactive, animated or combined graphics, then if narrated, then recorded live or both, and if live, then remote, in person or both. And in all cases, broadcast, directed or both. The framework in figure shows how these choices typically relate in terms of the effort, reach and likely impact. There is a media and the channel, static, interactive, animated, combined, then standalone, recorded, remote, in person. If it's complex, that means it tends to be narrow, reach, deep impact. And if it's simple, only broad reach and shallow impact. This is the spectrum of data communication type. Now we have to check the results. It is a good habit in general to incorporate into your efforts feedback loops and checkpoints that help you gauge whether you have achieved your intended results or not. And this allows the course correction in case of woefully unmet goals and fines tuning in the case of the slight misuse. There are few questions to ask when you check the result. Did the audience even receive your message at all? Who did and who did not? Then that means these things are also comes under the reach. Did audience even receive your message at all, or who did and who didn't? Then understanding, did the audience interpret the data message in way you intended? Then impact, did the audience react in the way you wanted them to react? That means asking this question will help you your message and communicate data better, and it will also show appropriate degrees of the respect to your audience. Now there are importance of communicating data quality. It is the vital that organization use data effectively, and to do this, people using the data must understand how it can and cannot be used. First, people should understand how the data should use and how data should not use. And communicating the quality of data to your users is an essential step in helping them to decide whether it is fit for their intended purpose. And this will allow them to come to more accurate conclusion and therefore make better business decisions. The communicating data quality should be going commitment, not just something that is done at the end of your data's journey. Now, why we need to communicate data quality to users? Data may be used by several different users and each for different purpose. And it is therefore necessary to take case by case approach to assess when it is appropriate to use it and for what purpose. Actually, communicating your data quality allows to demonstrate the strength and limitations of your data so that each user can decide if it meets their needs. And communicating the quality of data to users give them a fuller picture of your data and its journey. And it also mitigates against the people using data for the wrong purposes. Now, this will minimize the risk of any associated cost this may have, such as financial or reputational damage, and providing the information on data quality upfront will give the users confidence in the data and their use of it. Actually, regularly the communicating your data quality will also promote and maintain the confidence in and integrity of your organization. Now, next one is that when and how to communicate data quality. The quality assessment and assurance should happen throughout the data life cycle, and you should document and communicate data quality at each these stages. Actually, each stage introduces different types of the data quality problems, and here we need to be communicated to your users, and communicating your data quality regularly keeps your users up to date with any potential changes, and whenever there is a change to your data, this should be communicated to directly your users, and this allows them to raise whether the data is still suitable. And remember that the communicate your data quality alongside any data product which are delivered to your customer as a data sets or the reports. And actually, it is very important to think about how you communicate with your users. Now, for example, we will talk about the non-technical users, and non-technical users might prefer some dataset guides or dashboards, whereas technical users may want to understand the metrics behind the quality. And knowing users will help you to decide what channels of the communication will be most effective. Now, communicating data effectively. The availability of good quality data is great business asset and competitive advantage. Once you have gathered accurate and relevant data, you can use it to persuade potential buyers and close deals, build consensus within your own organization, or devise competitive strategy. And in all these cases, you need to present the data to various stakeholders, either within or outside the company. Is the manner in which you present data daunting or confusing to your audience, or do you know how to communicate data effectively? So when data is communicated effectively, multiple stakeholders are able to understand it and engage with it so as to achieve their own objectives as well as the collective goals. And teams that discuss data can be communicated effectively and is understood by everyone are more likely to uncover insights and craft the strategy rather than puzzling over what the data means. So accordingly, communicating data effectively is very, very important in the business context. And so there are some approaches for achieving the effective communication. Now, first one is that tailor the needs of the stakeholders. And when you design your system or format for the data presentation, it is very necessary to understand what are the needs of the your user, what are the requirements of the user. Then after that, what are the specific objective that your data will help them to achieve. So first you have to think about the requirement of the users. What are the requirement of your users? Then you have to think about the objectives. Then after that, clarity about your goals provides the direction to your data reporting methods and also help quantify the business benefits of your reports. So for these objectives, what is the data that they need to see and in what ways should they be able to interact with? And will they be viewing the data on desktop or mobile devices? Do they require reports or charts to be available when they are working within a system such as ERP or CRM? Then, and once you have the clarity about all these aspects, you can plan ways to communicate data that best meets the needs of your stakeholders. And you should also consider that stakeholders should be able to use your data presentation intuitively without technical support or extensive training. And if users are going to view your data primarily on mobile devices, so you need to consider that the smaller screen space and carefully select what you will share. So your data reports or dashboard must be clear and compact in order to work well on mobile devices, and interactive features should be easy to use on the mobiles. Now, good design aids understanding and appeals to users. Now there is need to put careful thoughts into your designs, into the design of your data reports, graph, dashboards or visualization. And now in order to communicate data effectively, your reports and dashboard should be very simple and it should be it should easy to understand as well as the easy to visualize also. And an important starting point is deciding what you will present. You have to decide what you will present. And with new age digital technologies, there is a proliferation of the data. However, we don't want our audience to drown in data. What is it that they need to see and how will it be communicated most effectively? As a table or simple chart and interactive visualization. And if you are building a dashboard, you may want to start with the summarized data and allow user to drill down and learn more about those aspects that data find interesting. Now there are some situations also which will call for the data story, that is sequence of visualization that helps the user to navigate data and reach the specific point. And presenting the data visually enables the communication of large volumes of complex data using concise snapshots that take advantage of human brains' ability to process visual information. Now, colors are important to communicate data effectively. Most of us intuitively interpret the meaning of the colors. These are universally understood, and if you create the gauge for communicating sale bookings versus target, you can use red to indicate the values below targets, and green for the range that is over the target. And this will help viewers to grasp the situation at the glance. And on the other hand, if you were to interchange the red and green, it would cause much confusion. And when you will create the heat maps, darker color you can use, and darker color can indicate the larger quantities. Now think about how color can help communicate your data and select the combination that will aid understanding. Colors are useful to make your reports and dashboards more appealing. But remember to keep white space around the colorful elements for relief. So white space prevents your reports or dashboard from appealing, cluttered, and increases its visual appeal. Now select the right chart technique. There are so many techniques for communicating data visually, like bar graph, line chart, scatter plot, box plot, histogram. So we have to choose very carefully. And from simple line graph or bar charts to spider chart, tree maps, word clouds, there are so many things. So the availability of software tools has made it easy for us to plot many new types of the chart. And however, some of the old ones will work very well, especially because they are extremely familiar to us and we can grasp their meaning at the glance. And when you are using the chart, it is very important to select the chart type that is best suited to your data and helps viewers to interpret it. Remember, financial is not necessarily better. Bar charts are usually used to compare different values in the same categories, while line graphs display the data relative to a continuous variable such as time. Then scatter plots also are used to see two variables and understand the relation between them. Then pie charts are also very effectively used to communicate parts that make up whole. Then linear radial gauges are best suited to compare two values on the same scale. Then heat maps are extremely effective tool to understand the nature of the data. Then variance, patterns, similarities, then correlations. Then radar or spider charts help to communicate the values of different parameters for particular series and compare a small number of such series. Now tree maps are very effective technique for communicating complex data by displaying the hierarchies and relative values. Well, these are most popular technique which are used for presenting your data, and there are many others, and you can experiment and decide for yourself which best suits for your data and the objective. And your report should give users quick sense of the data and its meaning and enable meaningful observation such as comparison, viewing the trends over time. Now consider the hierarchy of the data. Users appreciate reports and the dashboards that provide the information that is most important to them right away and give them ability to find the more details. And organizing your data well is an aspect of the communicating it effectively. The same data usually needs to be communicated in different ways to the different roles within an organization. The CXO may want to see the summarized report of organization-wide data, while factory manager may want to see more details pertaining to her own factory, and production shift in the charge may want to see data about each machine on the shop floor. Now, you have to design the report, you have to visualize your data, and here it will show that the visualization for each role by keeping this data hierarchy need in the mind. Now, after that, make it easy to interact with the data. Can your audience explore the data on their own to find meaning and discover insights? Like features such as filters, hovers, drill down, then selectors can help them see the data from different perspective or perform what if analysis. Add such interactive features in order to bring out the real power of your data for your users. While communicating data effectively, should certainly be a goal, there are many challenges to achieving it. Our audience is likely to be flooded with information and media from many different channels, so our data reports have to compete for our audience to be flooded with information and media from many other channels, so our data reports have to compete for the attention. And the fast pace of work, then exposure to multiple media channels, plus increasing the tendency to multitask has led to shortened attention span. This means that we cannot share our reports that take too long to understand or force the user to struggle to derive the meaning, to find out the meaning, as our target users may choose not to engage with them. And the thoughtful design and execution will enable us to communicate data effectively so that users can interpret abstract the information in a convenient and meaningful manner. So this is all about the communicating data. These are the references. You can go through this. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.